So this week we're reviewing how to divide fractions and whole numbers. And most people understand the mechanics of it, but the trick is to understand what you're dividing in the first place. So I'm going to go over some examples of word problems that are related to dividing whole numbers and fractions. So, Ronaldo bought a 1-yard rope of strawberry licorice candy as shown in the diagram. So here's one whole yard. Ronaldo and his 3 sisters equally shared 1/4 of the candy on Monday. So this is how much candy Ronaldo had. This is how much his sister had. This is how much his other sister had. And this is how much his other sister had. So just to be clear, this is how much Ronaldo gets total. This much. This is for sisters. Okay, the fraction of the 1-yard rope that Ronaldo ate on Monday equals 1/4 divided by 4. What fractional part of the licorice rope did Ronaldo eat? So this is the total amount that he gets. On Monday, he had that 1/4 of the whole thing divided into 4 pieces. So he had a fraction of this. So let's cut this into 4 pieces. So so this is how much he had on Monday, this amount. Now what we want to know is what the fraction is of the whole thing that he had on Monday. So I'm going to cut up the rest of this rope into pieces that are the same size as the pieces I have here, because when you have a fraction, all the pieces need to be the same size. If I count the number of pieces, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So this is cut up into 16ths, and one of those pieces is shaded. So this right here is 1/16 of the whole thing. Now let's do that numerically. Now they gave us the equation here. Normally that won't happen. They gave us the equation, or the problem, and we're going to solve it. So 1/4 divided by 4. Now what we say in class to remember what to do is when dividing fractions, don't ask why, flip the second number and multiply. Now when I say don't ask why, it's not because I don't want anyone to understand why we do it. It's because it rhymes with multiply. So I'm going to do it and then I'll explain why we flip the number. So flipping a whole number, so we have to flip this second number. Well, how do we flip it? Can't we only flip fractions? Well, we make it into a fraction then. So 4 is the same thing as 4/1. So when dividing fractions, don't ask why, flip the second number and multiply. And we get 1/16. Now, the reason we flip it over and multiply is because we are cutting this into 4 pieces, but when you cut something into 4 pieces, this is now 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4 of this just tiny piece. So we're taking 1/4 of 1/4. So we divide something by 4, we're taking 1/4 of it. So that's why we flip it over, it becomes 1/4, and multiply times 1/4 is the same thing as taking 1/4 of something, or dividing it into 4 pieces. So the answer is 1/16. That's how much he has on Monday. Okay, Mrs. Post baked a rectangular cake right here. She cut the cake into 3 equal sections. So this is one section right here, and this is the next section, this is the next section. So these are the 3 sections of the cake, and gave 1/3 of the cake to her neighbor, Mrs. Otto. So here's the shaded part that Mrs. Otto gets. This is a shaded part, and Mrs. Post gets the rest. So Mrs. Otto cut her part of the cake into 8 equal pieces. Now we see right here that it's been cut into 8 equal pieces. Okay, each piece is a fractional part of the original cake. So So this is one piece of the whole cake. This is what Mrs. Otto gets, this is what Mrs. Post gets, but the whole thing is like started out as an original cake. So we're going to complete the equation to show the fractional part of the whole cake represented by each of Mrs. Otto's pieces. So I'm going to show you with a picture, I'm going to show you with numbers. It's always good to draw a picture if you're not sure what's going on. Even if you're pretty sure what's going on, it's good to draw a picture. So if I want to find what fraction this is of the whole thing, I need to take a look at this and see that it's a bunch of, I see that these are a bunch of very small squares. And these are big rectangles. I need to cut this up, these bigger rectangles up into pieces that are the same size as this. So the whole thing is cut up into pieces that are the same size as each other. So I'm going to cut these other two pieces in these other two huge parts into eighths as well. No, it's not very straight. Let me do that again. Okay, so now all these pieces are the same size. Now if I were going to count how many pieces there are, 1, 2, 3, 4 on one side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the other side, there are 24 pieces. So this little piece is 1/24 of the entire cake. Okay, so that would be my answer, but I need to do this numerically in this particular case. So let me take a look. What do we do first? Well, we cut it into 1/3 and gave that to Mrs. Otto. So we started out with 1/3 of a piece of cake, 1/3 of a cake. So this is Mrs. Otto's part of the cake. Then she cut that up into 8 pieces. So divide by 8. When dividing fractions, don't ask why, flip the second number and multiply. Remember, 8 is the same thing as 8 over 1. If I flip it, I get 1 over 8. So 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 8 is 24. So that's what would be here. So it's 1/3 divided by 8 is 1 over 24. I can also do it with a picture. Dixon correctly drew a model to match this equation. 3 divided by 1/5 equals 15. Okay, I'm just going to take this one piece at a time. So I'm going to draw a model of this. We start out with 3 of something. Let's say 3, I always use cake as an example, 3 cakes. Dixon had 3 cakes. Okay, now we're going to divide those up into 1/5 pieces. Now we're not going to divide it by 5, we're dividing each one into pieces that are 1/5 of a cake. Well, this is one cake right here. So I'm going to divide each cake into fifths. Okay, not 1/5 of the whole thing, just 1/5 of the cake, of each cake. Okay, so now I'm going to count how many fifths I have and see if it equals 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That model works. Sarah's mom has 1/2 of a pot of chili left over after dinner. She wants to divide it into 3 equal servings for lunch the next day. What fractional part of the original pot of chili does each serving of leftover chili represent? Okay, so I'm going to draw a diagram. So she has 1/2 of a pot of chili left over after dinner. Okay, so this is my 1/2 a pot of chili that's left over. So that's this first sentence. The second sentence says she wants to divide it into 3 equal servings. Okay, I have 1/2 a pot of chili. I'm going to cut it into 3 servings. What fractional part of the original pot of chili does each serving represent? So this is one serving right here. I want to know what fraction this is of the whole thing. Well, once again, this piece is not as this piece is much bigger than these other pieces. So I'm going to cut it up so all the pieces are the same size. There we go. So how many total pieces do I have? 6. So this is cut into sixths, and how many pieces equals 1 serving? 1 piece. So my answer is 1/6. Now I'm going to do this numerically. We start out with 1/2 of a pot of chili, that's the red part here, and I'm dividing it into 3 pieces. So when dividing fractions, don't ask why, flip the second number and multiply. 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 3 is 6. So I get 1/6. And that's it.